dear senior colleagues, friends, and we know the importance. We have seen all these parameters, and we know how important it is to achieve lumbar realignment even in single segment fusion. So I know that this was one of our favorite slides when I was started presenting. So reduction of a good grade 2 listhesis, collapsed disc space, MIS TLIF, and we were very happy with the outcome. But as you can see, there is hardly any lordosis that is mentioned. It's a type 4 curve, high PI, high lumbar lordosis patient. So it's very important to restore L5S1 lordosis in these particular patients. And these patients are likely to come back with adjacent segment disease. And we know the outcomes of failed lordosis restoration in single level lumbar fusion. So when we fail to restore lumbar lordosis in 1 or 2 levels, it results in a superior segment hyperlordosis and a retrolisthesis. These are the first effects. And if left unchecked or due to advanced degeneration or due to some long segment fusions in the lumbar region, it can result in progressive deterioration to a balanced and compensated, unbalanced compensated at first, and to an unbalanced and decompensated curves over a period of time with all the pelvic adjustments or pelvic modifications that will happen with retroversion as well as hip locks in the maximum extension. So this is the process that happens, and it's very important. That is why to consider or restoring lumbar lordosis even in single level fusions. And this is a perfect example. 2-level lumbar fusion that was done earlier, who has come back the same image that I showed, superior segment hyperlordosis, retrolisthesis, and this patient has come with a 2-level adjacent segment disease. So a 19-degree segmental angle at that particular level. We corrected it with a single stage lateral OLIF, but unfortunately we failed to restore the SVA, and it again failed over a period of time. Probably osteoporosis was also a factor, but in these cases, the cage loading will increase if the SVA is not restored, and in 8 months, the patient came back and had to be revised to restore these parameters. And there are several determinants of restoring postoperative lumbar lordosis in these cases, including the reduction of deformity, adequate release, size and position of interbody cage. But we are also going to discuss about the surgical approach and type of interbody fusions that are available with us at this moment in an MIS way, which we can use. MIS TLIF is the workhorse where we use most of our fusions using MIS TLIF techniques, and there has been certain concerns that MIS TLIF is inadequate in restoring lordosis in these cases, but studies have shown that up to 15 degree of segmental lordosis can be retained or restored using MIS TLIF test studies if given adequate attention to these particular techniques. So cantilever TLIF, MI TLIF with bilateral facetectomy, as you can do it even with MIS fashion, is the best way to restore lumbar lordosis according to the studies. Anterior most cage placement as well as a posterior compression again is going to help us to restore lumbar lordosis in MIS cases. And of course, with the advent of a newer expandable 15-degree cages that are available in the market nowadays, we can also these can also help in restoring lordosis in MIS TLIF cases. Restore or retain, I should stress. So again, clinical examples like these, we can achieve a good lumbar lordosis, moderately unfavorable LDI can be restored to a good favorable LDI in these particular cases using minimal invasive techniques done from posterior itself. So we know that not only posterior but anterior lateral techniques are good or more effective in restoring lordosis for these particular cases. We know the advantages and disadvantages, the extent to which interbody distraction, indirect decompression and lordosis restoration can be achieved with a retroperitoneal lateral approach either through ATP or through a trans-OS approaches, especially if the lordosis loss is across multiple levels, which becomes easier through a retroperitoneal approach to restore lordosis in these particular cases as shown in this particular example. Now, we know also that ALL release is a very important factor. ALL release is the one that is going to help us to restore the segmental lordosis in the maximum way, and hyperlordotic cages up to 20-28 degree are only available with an anterior or an ALIF approach as of now, and which are useful in these particular cases. Hyperlordotic L5S1 segment, unstable, patient requiring surgery, failed conservative management. And these things, maintenance of lordosis in these particular cases can happen only with a true anterior approach rather than any other kind of an approach. Can also be done with a single stage lateral position, L5S1 supine, the lateral ALIF or an OLIF 5-1 in these particular cases. So again, some clinical examples, 2-level loss of lumbar lordosis with canal stenosis. Again, good amount of restoration of lordosis can be achieved with an anterior or a lateral approach. Again, this example I have already shown. when we are considering multi-level fusions, we have to consider other parameters as described by SRS Schwab criteria, and also lumbar lordosis distribution index, which has become more important in recent days after the introduction of gap scores. And again, in these cases where there is a multi-level degenerative deformity, it's again important to use the correct technique, which I'm going to discuss with lateral approaches or with a combined lateral and posterior approaches to restore lordosis, either through short segment fusions or even through long segment fusions in certain cases. But we may not always get away even with these cases, so sometimes there is progression of deformity over a period of time, especially in this particular case, which ultimately will require revision and extension to the lower dorsal levels as well. So this is a small flowchart that we always use depending upon the segment that we are using. This was given by Dr. Pumaneni et al. So I'll just rush through it. So predominantly, whenever lordosis restoration or height restoration is the main concern, we have to resort to anterior and lateral approaches whenever possible. At L5-S1, ALIF is preferable. At L4-5 and L2 to L5, it is preferable to use an OLIF surgery. Of course, there shouldn't be a prior abdominal surgery, and if the lordosis or height restoration is not the main criteria, a posterior alone surgery is sufficient in these particular cases. From L2 to 4, again, if height restoration is required, we can always do OLIF lateral approaches. If the concavity is to the right, we can always even do an ALIF, because in those cases, the window between the psoas as well as the aorta gets shifted more to the convex side, and you get more space to do an ALIF in those particular cases, but otherwise a lateral approach is preferable in these cases. Whenever there is a prior abdominal or retroperitoneal surgery, lordosis or height restoration is not the main intention of our surgery, posterior TLIF is actually a very good option. Again, multi-level, lateral is preferred. Reduced disc space, where more lordosis restoration is required, segmental kyphosis is extending across multiple levels, LLIF or lateral approaches are preferable. Single level, severe central stenosis requiring a direct decompression, where there is no need to restore the lordosis to a significant extent. Of course, MIS TLIF is more than good in these particular cases. Ultimately, we should also take into consideration the surgeon's comfort, familiarity, and training, and not to just go by these protocols according to our experience. Important to consider lumbopelvic parameters even in single level fusions. It is important to consider and choose the correct fusion technique in each individual case. And of course, as I've shown in several examples, MIS is effective in single level as well as in multi-level cases in restoring a lumbar lordosis or alignment. Thank you.